Yay! Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. My name is Phat Mandee, and we are live in the Mysticverse. Yay! I'm so excited for our wonderful show that we're going to have here today. I have some wonderful guests, and I'm just so excited about it. So thanks for coming on and checking it out. I'm going to sing a couple of songs and then I'm going to bring one of them out. Yay! What we're doing this evening is we are sharing songs and stories about Burning Man. Burning Man of old years gone by, because it shaped so much of my reality, and I learned that we could do anything with a piece of tape. So this is my first song of the night. It's called Torch of Blue. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Phat Mandee, and we're going to have a lovely evening about stories and songs. But first, I got a torch of blue and an axe of red. Papa, you're driving me out of my head. I got a torch to burn and an axe to grind. Loss of your love makes me lose my mind. I'm hoping and hopping and stoking and stalking. My heart is like to split in two. All I needed was superseded. Now I carry a torch of blue. Papa, listen loudly, I'm not going home. So cold you drove me away from my home. A ring around my finger, around this old sun. A pitter and a patter, now it's all done. My torch, it burns as cold as ice, with love so clear as the sacrifice you made for me, but I would not see. Now I'm singing to your memory. Friends, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate y'all so much. We're going to have a beautiful evening. I've got my friend Tony Coyote Perez-Banuet here. He's a dear friend of mine. He's been in charge of setting up and tearing down the city we call Burning Man for over 25 years now. And I've got my dear friend Lesley Freeman, who is one of the collaborators of the Mysticverse and one of my cast members from How to Survive the Apocalypse, a burning opera. And the temporary autonomous zone that is, has been, and shall continue to be Black Rock City means so much to us. It's helped us make friends with people all over the world and understand that the impossible is only impossible until you do it. For Wesley I cried, his light had long died. I had wandered for far too long. Now I'm on my way home, but I'm all alone. A torch of blue for this cold song. My torch is blue, my axe is red. Papa, you're driving me out of my head. I took my smoldering torch, I set that house aflame. I flung my bloody axe through the pouring rain. Por was my first song, ladies and gentlemen, Torch of Blue. The second is one that I have not recorded yet, but I'm still alive, so it's possible it could still happen. I wrote this one while I was on tour with Circus Ridiculous, which was a fascinating experiment in traveling asylums put together by the great Chicken John. And he's the one who actually, if it weren't for Chicken John, I wouldn't know any of our guests tonight. It's all his fault. It's always been his fault. It's always going to be his fault. And this is for Chicken John and that beautiful little dog named Dammit. I was stolen by a dog named Dammit. A dog named Dammit took me from here to there and back again. Then she ate those fiddlers 3. As we sauntered off by the sea. 3 times 10 and back again, the dust storms were as thick as they'd been before and would be again. It was a dirty old mean old trick they played on me down by the sea. It was lies and propaganda, said Jesus to the fool. We were naked there in Dallas, but we were only by a pool. We shall build a city, it shall rise from the dust. Bicycle clowns are gathering, and they're covering us with lust. I was stolen by a dog named Dammit. A dog named Dammit took me from here to there and back again. Then she ate those fiddlers 3. And we sauntered off by the sea. A pyramid sea. Ladies and gentlemen, that was my song, Stolen by a Dog Named Dammit. At this time, I'm going to bring to the staging area my dear friend, author of a brand new book called Built to Burn, The Tales of the Desert Carnies. Give it up for Tony, Coyote, Perez-Banuet.
Well, I can hear the roars of the crowds, the roars. Yeah, can't you hear them? So glad you write a song about Dammit the Wonder Dog. I miss Dammit.
What's the 20 on that dog shit? What's the 20? Remember
shit.
that?
No, that's a whole story in itself. I think it was one of the first times I heard Michael on the radio. What's the 20 on that dog shit over? We had such a laugh out about it that we made a stencil, and it showed up on T-shirts, and it showed up on hoodies, and it showed up on bumper stickers, and it was painted on trucks.
I think David Apocalypse made that stencil, and I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't have the tattoo.
I'm sure the shirts, the shirts are big collectors now, and they'll be going on eBay.
That is not a call for commodification.
No, it's not. It's
listening
not.
Audience. So we're clear.
I'm just saying what other people do, you know.
Exactly. So Tony, what's going on? Where are you calling in from? What's going on?
I'm calling from the lower. I'm in the lower Haight district of San Francisco, and I haven't left yet. There's a lot of apartments going up and a lot of buildings for sale, but I haven't left yet. And by God, the Bohemians are going to crawl back out of the woodwork as soon as we get rid of all this gold rush that is finally leaving the town. But I've been here in San Francisco since 1979, and I've been in the lower Haight for about 26 years, and so I'm not going anywhere in the immediate future.
Okay. You're right there in the city of love.
City. Well, yeah, the Barbary Coast. Some call it the city of permission. I call it the city of possibilities.
Okay.
You know, It was the the parents of the Burning Man, Black Rock City, which was the runaway teenager.
Oh, we have some people saying hey. We have Sparrow gives us a
Ah,
purple heart there. Hey, nice check. Thanks for checking in, Sparrow. And
I
let's
know
see, we
Sparrow quite well,
Abcynthia's
and
watching.
Abcynthia. Abcynthia's been at I think she's got a couple of seasons on me there. And I showed
Woo.
up in '96. She probably goes back to '93. I don't know. Maybe she should put something in the chat there. But she was there
Yeah.
long before I was. Yeah.
Sarah Wells says, "Hey, Dusty fam."
Ah.
So I think that
Yeah.
might be my girl Sarah from North Carolina, if I'm thinking straight.
She was on.
Walls. That's a Walls. I don't know where Sarah Walls is from,
Oh, she
but
was on
hi.
our crew for a while. She was one of our managers for a season.
Oh, bless her
Yeah.
heart. That's not an easy job. So what brought you to decide to tell these stories? What
I,
was
I,
it?
I've been telling them. As a matter of fact, there's a scene in the book where I tell the chicken story for the first time, and so I've been telling these stories forever around the campfire.
Yeah, to
You know,
anybody who'll listen.
and
That's
anybody
how I do it anyways. I'm like, no, this is important.
And people keep saying to me that they're really wild and crazy stories, but they don't. To you and me, by the way, Fat Mandee is so. I'm so happy to be on a show with you. For the listeners, Fat Mandee has been a friend of mine since '97, and was on one of the first DPW crews. And for anybody who's read the book and thought that I was telling a bunch of bullshit, no, there she is. There's Fat Mandee right here.
Right here. I'm right
Why?
here.
Yeah, and she's here to tell you that those stories are true. They actually happened. And so I've been capturing them, and I decided to start writing them down. I always sort of thought that maybe down the line somebody should write a book about these days because they were just so wild and fun and crazy and unique. And I started writing about 4 years ago, and 4 years later, there you go. There's a book actually came down the pipe, you know. And so
We
I
did
don't
some
know.
crazy things, man. We did it. It was not. It wasn't. I remember I took a break. I stopped doing DPW in like 2000. I think was my last year, and I came back again for my honeymoon as just a participant in 2002 with my husband, and then he might join us later at the end of the show for a song, but I came back in 2005 like to be with the Neverwas Haul, just not as a volunteer with DPW, but just as an artist. And y'all had to hook up. There were like showers for y'all, and you had a
Yeah,
depot with
yeah.
cold beer. I don't even drink beer, and I wanted to have a
Ice.
beer.
I
Oh,
mean, back in the day, if you had a black tank in your trailer, hey man, that was the pickup line. You know.
for me, I was like, I sleep in the cook shack.
Hey
Worked
man,
every time. Worked every
we,
time.
I'm sure you remember Johnny Blue Eyes,
Oh yeah, of
Johnny
course I
Johnny
do.
Farrell.
Shit,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He came back out years later, like I think 15, 18 years had gone by since the days of what we were be talking about.
Hmm.
And everybody's like, "Hey, Johnny Blue Eyes is in the camp. He came back." And so I went down to the heat department, where the heavy equipment department, where he was just sort of hanging in their chill spot. And I walked in, and he's just sitting in the couch, and he's just got this look, and he's going, "Everybody is so chill, man. All the trucks work. I'm sitting on a couch. There's a bar right over there with like good whiskey instead instead of the plastic bottle crap or whiskey at
Where's
all, you know. And
where's the
there's ice.
20 cases of warm guarana? and,
Yeah,
and and Flynn's Clamato beer. We had
y-
20 cases of warm and like another 20 of clam juice and tomato juice.
yeah. We ended up shooting that stuff because nobody would drink it, so
No.
we took it to the shooting range, just blew it all up.
Yeah, that's
Guns.
the only sensible thing you could have done.
Well, yeah, but we have come a long way. And a quick story is we have a beautiful commissary out there now, and a beautiful, a great company. We vended out to a great company. Yes, rest in power, Johnny Jack Farrell.
I don't think I knew he passed. Bless
Oh,
him.
I'm sorry to say. Yes, yeah, he passed a
Yeah.
couple years back. Yeah, a little moment there for Johnny Blue Eyes. Anyway, the commissary nowadays is a long stretch from what it used to be when it was you and the trailer cooking out of Flash's cook shack. I'm sorry that you just got this news right now. I'm sorry that
I'll process that later.
Yeah.
A lot of us didn't make it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's for sure. But anyway, that was standing in line. I think it was last year, and somebody was staring at the whiteboard, and it was pulled pork sandwiches for lunch. And now we have 3 different salad bars, all the things. There's bagels, and just amazing bounty of goodness coming out of that kitchen.
That's great to
And
hear.
yeah, and this guy was kind of bitching about it because he wasn't sure if he wanted pulled pork or not. And I was behind him in line going, man, you have no idea what we've been through.
Yeah, I used to make you all. I would make you all like peanut butter and jelly corn tortillas. I think.
Yeah,
and send them
sure.
off with
For
you for the
spam.
day.
And in the book, I think it was John Joyce was wondering why we're eating rabbit stew for the 3rd time. And Chico just said, the Lord provides. And he was out there in the morning scraping up the jackrabbits, cleaning them. Nobody ever got sick. It was fine.
They were fresh.
Yeah. And so I didn't want to be the old man going, back in my day, we used to eat roadkill off. You should be happy you have a pulled pork sandwich.
When I showed up and I first met you all, I swear, like I don't know if it was you or if it was Joe, somebody had fallen asleep with like a half-eaten can of beans, and there were like beans just crusted in your dusty, dusty beards. And you'd been out there for like a month already on Wallapai Playa, and there were literally just beans dried into your facial hair, already covered in dust.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Like, I'm not even a real cook. I'm just fat. But I can help you. I know I can do something here. It'll
You kept
be
getting
okay.
stuck in the kitchen. Then you were back in the kitchen with Jeff and Zena, too, I think.
Oh, Lord, bless their memories. I hope
Bless
they're doing okay.
They didn't make it into the book because that came after. But they definitely are on the docket to get written about those.
I hope they're doing okay.
I do, too. We'll get into those stories later. I just remember coming up with a band.
Bless them.
We came up with a band name out of it called Meat Sponge because she had a special sponge that had Sharpie on it. It was just for sopping up the meat.
Oh, she could run a kitchen. I mean, I'm not going to cut her on any of her kitchen running cred.
Yeah,
she could run a kitchen. What she didn't understand was how hungry people got.
Yeah.
and I think she was in a tough position where like we didn't know. Like it was just a whole organizational thing. It was just we didn't.
Well, we were behind the desert curtain, and we were trying to do impossible things out of nothing. We had like 2 trucks, and we were still able to build the cities. And I always thought that we were Meat Sponge. Yeah, rock out, Meat Sponge. But we were able to pull it together somehow, and that's why I thought this book should be written, because it was really, people didn't even know how it happened. They had no idea. They just go there and there was a city just sitting there, and they had no idea what the people had gone through to get that thing to happen.
Well, let's hear some of it. Let's hear what are you going to read for us?
I do. I'd actually had a special story picked out just for you there, Fat Mandee.
Oh, okay, I'm going to highlight you. Here we go. It's my production skills. Here we go. Oops, wrong one.
Wrong one.
There you go.
Oh, yay.
Yay. I'm going to listen.
Well, this is a little backstory on this. It was 97, which is part 2 of this book. And this was actually when the first circus actually showed up. And because for 2 weeks ahead of that, it was just pretty much me and Flynn and Will were running it. And there was the only one actually swinging any hammers was old Coyote out there by himself. And we were saying, well, Chicken John's got that circus is going to show up any minute now. And every day we'd be looking at the horizon, waiting for anything to show up, and it just wouldn't. And then finally, when we only had like a week and a half until the gates were going to open, the bus finally showed up with the circus in it. And we didn't call it the DPW until 1998. But I do believe that 97 was the first actual crew that we had that became the DPW. So in all honesty, it was the DPW. We just didn't become the Department of Public Works until the next year. And so this is us sitting there after a hard day's work. And here it is right here. And we're all tuckered out. It's just me and Flynn and Will. And we look up and here comes the circus. So let's see. Chicken John's circus had shown up just a few days before Chico got there. One thing about living in wide open spaces is that you can see things coming. From a camp chair at Fly Ranch, you can easily spot a truck coming over Soldier Meadow Pass about 10 miles away and have a 15-minute warning on what's headed your way. It was the end of a workday, and the slanting rays of the setting sun projected a gold wash over the landscape, making it easy to spot the glint of a yellow box truck cresting the pass. "It looks like we got incoming," said Flynn as he sat rolling a smoke. We followed his gaze and saw a caravan cresting the pass one vehicle at a time and descending into the valley. "Yeah," replied Will. "That's not a local. A rented box truck's got to be for us." "I'll bet it's that circus kids Flash has been talking about. What's the crazy name he called it?" That's Circus Ridiculous. But you have to remember to spell it like Dick U less, the U being the letter U. Chicken John's always pretty clear about that. The circus caravan inched closer through the valley and announced itself. It looked like a 1950s beat-up road carnival with a grimy budget truck in the lead pulling a trailer loaded with a giant pile of bicycles. Following that was an old passenger bus belching black smoke with a faded greyhound dog on the side. This was also pulling a trailer loaded with large pieces of rusted metal. Behind that were junker cars, vans, and trucks, all loaded down with crap tied to their roofs. Bringing up the rear was a truck pulling a trailer I'd recognized from Pepe's camp last year. It was Flash's cook trailer. "Well, now that's a sight," Will observed. "Reminds me of when I was a kid and the carnival would come to town. The Carnies would always scare the shit out of me." "Well, I'll wager these Carnies are even scarier," replied Flynn. "I'll bet it's up to us to turn them into desert Carnies." We watched as the budget truck finally made the turn down Fly Ranch Lane and powered towards us with its brazen battery close behind. The caravan was a kettle of attitude, heard in the grinding gears and revving motors that cared little of public opinion. They were sure to turn heads in every truck stop across America, as they were beholden to no one, and therefore beyond criticism. Will guided them in through a billow of dust. Before the engines were even shut down, the bus doors opened, and about 4 dogs shot out and tore after the roosters, adding the commotion of barking and snarling to the cacophony of cockfighting. A couple of dudes who were as ratty looking as the dogs jumped off the bus and chased after them, now adding screaming and shouting to the soundscape. Will stood with his arms folded, watching the scene. What else could he do? Then the door of the budget truck banged open, and a dark-haired man jumped out, already shouting with a reedy buzz for a voice. "You better get those goddamn dogs tied up. They're becoming a real pain in the ass." This man had a smallish build, was wearing a stained shorts and a fucked-up T-shirt, and a dirty ball cap pushed so far back that the bill pointed straight up. A sparse black mustache that looked drawn on clung to his upper lip over a small goatee that was struggling to keep up. He walked over in a nervous rush and started talking at us, starting in the middle of a sentence as he kept pushing his crooked glasses back up his nose. There was never any greeting. This was Chicken John. "He said he needed a crew, and here they are. They're all in my show. Then they were on John Law's cleanup crew for the last couple of years in Black Rock, so they pretty much know what they're doing. They're good workers and just need to be shown to what to do. All you have to do is feed them, and he said you could take care of that." Wait, replied Will, holding his hands up, trying to get a word in. Who said? Flash. Flash said. Who else would I be talking about? You got to keep up with me, Will. I don't have a whole lot of time here. Chicken gestured to a tall, slender dude who had joined the circle. "This is Jericho. He brings his pedal camp crew along and these bicycles that they're bringing for Burning Man for people to use. They just need fixed up. They just need a little fixing up." Actually, it's called Heavy Pedal Camp, said Jericho. "Whatever," said Chicken. Okay, I'm going back to SF right now. I have to help Jim Mason bring out his ice ball. That's the Vegematic over there on the trailer behind the bus. He's leaving it here for you. Before Will, Flynn, or anyone could say anything about it, Chicken turned and walked away to busy himself with unhitching the bicycle trailer from the budget truck. Once it was unhitched, he jumped back in the truck, started it, and pulled away down the road in a wake of gravel and dust. So that's it? Asked Flynn. We just inherit this mess? Well, I've heard Chicken's famous for doing this kind of thing, Will replied. He just shows up, dumps something on you, puts you to work, then splits before you can say no. I see Fat Mandee nodding her head in approval back there. That's still the MO. Harsh, but respect. Then Flynn says, harsh, but effective. I respect that. So, Jericho, how many are you? Asked Will, as we could see more circus zombies lumbering off the bus and out of the trucks and cars. I'm guessing there's about 15 or 20 of us, Jericho. 20 of us. Jericho looked down and kicked the dirt like somebody hiding the truth. He was a torn and scruffy beanpole with red scrub brush hair and buggy, wide-set eyes like a newt. He had a mechanic's hands and a face that was used to having fun. He looked back up and smiled a snaggletooth grin. I liked him already. 20? How many dogs? Not sure. Never counted them. Another evasive answer. Well, I was only expecting maybe 10 of you. I don't know how the hell we're going to feed 20. Jericho didn't say anything. He just stood there grinning, and a few others had joined him. Well, hi, I'm John Joyce, said one of them, holding out his hand. He was also torn and scruffy, with the dirty blonde hair tangled into a crumpled shock of confusion. The cruise here listens to Jericho and me. You can tell us what stuff needs to be done, and we'll get these guys going. Another guy bounded over to us, wearing a filthy clown suit, clown shoes and all. He also had dirty blonde hair, but his stuck out to the sides, giving him a creepy bozo look. He, too, had black Buddy Holly glasses with white nerd tape holding the nose bridge together, and a grinning mouth the size of a cereal bowl. You could hardly see his eyes through the smudged lenses of his glasses, and one lens had a nasty crack through it. My name is Pierre Pressure. I am at your service. He gave a deep bow. He really is at your service, said John Joyce. This is the hardest working guy here. He'll do whatever's needed and do it all in clown shoes. It's the only pair of shoes I own, said Pierre with another deep bow. In fact, John Joyce went on to say, there's only one of us you kind of got to prompt to keep working, and that's Nostril Dumbass. Here, a hand went up amongst the new arrivals. I hadn't noticed him before because of his size. He was almost childlike. He was grubby like them all, but he seemed to go into a deeper level of dirt. His hair was horribly matted like a dirty brown sheepdog, and his clothes had been shredded down to dish rags. His posture was slouched over, making him even smaller, but he seemed large to me for some reason. I could see in his half grin and glinty eyes that he was a person that would take on any dare. We would find out later that his circus act was the most outrageous one of them all. Giving a shit was something he had stopped doing a long time ago. And why should he? Did the world give a shit about him? Nostril Dumbass? Wow, that's one hell of a stage name, said Flynn. Yeah, well, most of us has stage names, John Joyce went on. Except for me, for some reason. We have David Apocalypse, and then there's Pierre Pressure, whom you've just met. We have Fat Chick Rick, Jesse Whack, the Satanic Mechanic, Insectivora, Styx the Clown, Ed the Clown, Potato, Molly Ratchet, Circus Boy, the Armenian Rubber Man, Skitch. You get the idea. Did I get it right there, Mandee?
Yes, you can absolutely say that Proto DPW was dirty, road weary punk rock circus clowns. It's what you had to work
and
with,
we made it work, man.
Work.
Actually, I'll get into that in the next one. They were actually pretty hard workers, man. So let's see. So you're a circus act, like juggling? Acrobatics? Clown acts? Stuff like that? I asked. They exchanged glances and then looked back at me with the kinds of smiles that share secrets. I could feel the folly of my question. John Joyce held out his arms. Do I look like an acrobat to you? Actually, you look like you just climbed out from under the bus, said Flynn. It was clear that this was no ordinary circus show. Our imaginations started to stretch, but when we finally did see the show back in Reno that fall, nothing could have prepared me. The name for this type of entertainment was what they called shock theater. Part of Chicken's genius was that he knew the backstreet warehouses and countercultures of cities and towns across the country. He wasn't up on Hollywood billboards, but he was just as famous in his own realm. So the first thing we got to do is get you guys set up, said Flynn. There's a good camp spot behind those trees. Where would you like us to park the Vegematic? Asked John Joyce. Right, said Flynn. As much as I love that thing rolling around Black Rock City last year, setting everything on fire, it's a giant pain in the ass. I remember that thing, I said. That's the doomsday machine that torched the information board last year, isn't it? You mean the 3,000-pound pedal-powered shredding flame-throwing daiquiri maker, said John Joyce. That's its real name. It got its nickname Vegematic from the old slice and dice commercials on late-night TV. The whole thing was supposedly built to power the bar blender that's built into it. That's the joke. It's just a big flame-throwing bar blender so you can get drunk and torch shit. So, said Will to the group that had circled around, get yourself up and Coyote will start you working tomorrow. Just follow his lead. He's the site foreman. In the meantime, Flynn and I have to figure out how we're going to feed this mob. Will and Flynn walked off to check out the wreckage of the Vegematic. Did I just get promoted to foreman? Will did have a penchant for springing stuff on you. And just like that, I was in charge of my first crew, such as it was. I stood there stunned for a moment. No one had ever put me in charge of anything before. I had always been a dutiful follower. I turned to Jericho, John Joyce, and Pierre Pressure. They stood before me like dogs, waiting for me to throw a stick. What do you want us to do first? Asked John Joyce. Well, the first thing is to get you guys set up. Let's go check out that camp spot. I know just where it is. The wind generally hits from the Soldier Meadow Pass, so I'll show you how the best way to arrange your vehicles. What happens tomorrow? Burning Man never had to set up roads and shit. We kind of don't know what we're doing. Don't worry, I've got it figured. Just follow my lead tomorrow. Now that we have a fuck ton of hands, we can knock the city right out in no time. Matter of fact, we got so many hands, it's going to be a challenge keeping everyone busy. Man, am I glad you guys showed up. This is Coyote, everyone. He's going to show us where to camp and to get things working tomorrow. He's the boss man. They hopped back into their cars and buses and followed me to the campsite. Without any effort, the role of leadership came easy. It was yet another desert spirit coming to embrace my soul, carrying me through the ports to my next journey. It felt as natural as humming to music. Funny how, if given the right set of lenses, the refraction of hidden paths open up as if they've been there the whole time. It was also the start of the long-standing tradition, getting the job by doing the job. And what a job it was. I was being asked to do the seemingly impossible with the most improbable, and the event was just 2 weeks away. But the camp had just been flooded with future desert carnies, and I had a fresh shot of confidence. Problem solving and situational maneuvering made up the machine oil that my brain gears craved. I was no longer asleep at the saxophone thinking about my laundry. In fact, laundry was a long, long way away. I also felt like we were witnessing an outlandish birth. That was the very first crew of the Department of Public Works of Black Rock City. It wasn't actually called that until the next year when we actually got the t-shirts. But I will always feel that the DPW was born on that day when the circus came to town.
Ooh. Tell it. That's how it happens.
That was out of Built to Burn.
That's how it happens.
Built to Burn.
Yeah, if you, yeah, I really enjoy, I really enjoyed. I read that thing cover to cover. I just read it from beginning to end, and it just brought back so many memories.
Well, that was my
About
yeah, that was my biggest concern is that I was wondering if people were actually going to finish the damn thing, and I'm finding that people are actually going right through it.
oh yeah.
Yeah, 'cause-
Yeah, hey, so I started a little Facebook watch party on my personal page to make sure my friends knew we were doing it. Marty Walker says, "Hey." He
oh,
says, "What a team." Samuel Congilio's watching. My friend Christine's watching. And I don't know if you're looking at these comments here, but we've got Hank Letter and Lex Talonis and Christina. If you go over to
oh, I see the comments. Yeah, yeah,
comment
okay.
section, you can see. I think.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Jake Schaefer's
Oh,
watching, and
there's Bean.
Shayna
Bean is the one
Wright,
that
and
said rest in power. Yeah,
Bean,
rest in power.
Christine
Hey, Bean,
Bean.
I got your book. I'll put it in the mail tomorrow. Yeah, meets fun.
So yeah, we
Yeah,
got some
we
nice
are.
old friends watching, and some new
All right.
ones. And anybody that's been to Burning Man recently, it did not start
No,
off
now
well.
I actually was in the virtual Burning Man last night.
Oh,
I'll
what's
have
it
to
like?
say that they did a damn good job. One thing I noticed that I kept saying, "What's missing? What's missing?" Because you can go in there, and there's
What's
buttons to
missing is
push.
you probably feel way too clean.
That's for damn sure. You
You
don't
don't
have
have
any
to
legs,
you don't have to
and
walk 3 miles to the
yeah,
bathroom.
but you can fly, and that's what a lot of people are really liking. You can fly around the place.
People could fly back in night. There was that guy with the little chair and his little. You
Oh
remember
yeah,
the
yeah,
guy? And
sure, sure.
I don't know what that thing was, but there
Yeah.
was a dude with like a hovercraft of some kind that actually. I don't think
Um,
I was high when I was watching him being high.
well, so far, I think one of the one that's got the blue ribbon for me so far as attention to detail and really making you feel like you've walked into the place, is the Black Hole Bar. I strongly suggest anyone going in there to find the Black Hole
What
Bar.
what
Yeah.
universe is it in? What universe were you in? Because there's 8. We're
Oh, I'm
we're in the
sorry.
Mysticverse right now.
The Black BRC VR in the
BRC.
BRC.
See, I don't have a virtual headset. I'm like
Yeah,
all old
you can
school
get
in
there on
the.
a you can get there on a laptop.
Okay, I'm
You,
gonna
you,
look.
you
I'll
can
look
definitely
for
get
it.
there on a laptop.
I'll have to. I'm
And
in Mysticverse right now. I'll have to. I'll
yeah.
have to.
Well, there are tricks and interesting things that you learn, but there's these blue transparent silos or these cylinders that exist around the city. And those silos are actually transporter beams that take you to different places.
Of
And
course they are.
if you go
That's
behind the Center Camp Cafe, you'll find a blue silo that says Black Hole Bar on it. You can go in there. And they really knocked it out of the park with attention to detail. Of course, I went there. There's nobody there. I'm going. I'm here, here at the bar. I'll probably try going there after we get off of here, going back to the Black Hole Bar, see if anybody
so
shows
much
up.
easier. That sounds so much easier than trying to flag an art car or begging some poor sod with a golf cart.
Yeah, but you can still get lost. Just like any time at Burning Man. I actually felt like it was my first time at Burning Man. I didn't know anybody. I was kind of shy to go up and talk to people, and you know, it was. But the flying part is pretty fun. But it was like about the third time I'd actually gone into it. I kept saying, "What is missing out of there?" And what's missing are there's no bicycles.
Tripping over the bicycles.
Yeah, there's none. There, I haven't found a bicycle yet in the virtual Black Rock City. So I was like, well,
See.
I'm thinking maybe down the line there'll be a yellow bike program and bicycles sitting around that you can actually climb on and start riding around. But as with anything else in Burning Man, the first thing I started doing was, well, I got to plan my camp for next year.
So the whole crash bar just listened to a chunk and they're wildly applauding, according to
Oh,
Shane
okay.
Morrison.
Yeah, all right.
Somebody wants to know if there's still porn in the black hole. Is there weird porn? Elizabeth
Oh,
wants to know. We have
uh,
burning questions here at the
I
Fat
did.
Mandee show in the Mysticverse.
Well, now I'm going to have to go back to the black hole and search the tabletops because I was, oh yeah, the porn. We got to see if that's there. But even the fire barrels had like these bubbly fire flames coming off of it. And there was dust in the air, and it was, they really did. They nailed it. Most of the places were really interesting, but that one, I think, as far as attention to detail and really making you feel like I got a little misty, I got a little misty. They set the bar pretty high. Let's put it that way.
Well, at some point when I can afford one of those things, and I'm old and I can't walk anymore, I mean, on the old folks' home, I'm going to be at Burning Man 24/7. I mean,
well, that's one thing. I was looking at the future. There will be a time that we convene back out in the desert. I think that
I'm looking forward
I'm
to
optimistic. I think that will happen. It's got to happen because it's us. We will find a way back out there.
We'll do it eventually. We'll do it eventually when it's safe. I really respect the organization for canceling it, though. I really do. And I love that the Burning Spirit has mystically. We're in theory we're in a theatrical setting in the Mysticverse right now.
Yeah.
So
well, I also believe that this multiverse or this virtual Burning Man is here to stay. I think that we're really showing the possibilities of this year. And people are going into it that would never dream of going into it before, like myself. Not that I was anti-tech or anything, but I just really had never been attracted to it. But in the last 2 days, it made a believer out of me. It really did. You can find the same type of spirit in there. Hey, but, it's missing some things. You can't hug anybody. But then you can't hug anybody over here either.
Oh man! So on my watch party, Sam Congelio, I'm going to show a clip of his later. He says he read the book cover to cover and he loved it. Great book.
All right.
Eveline says, "Hey, a friend of mine here in town wants me to burn stuff on the river. We'll see about
Let's
all
burn
that."
a book.
Suzanne, burn a book. No, don't burn any books.
No.
Burn any books. Flash already did that. Flash and Dana already burned all those books.
Hey, I did have a little side thing. It was this is a little edgy story.
Okay.
But for those who don't know, this book was being published. It's the first publication of Burning Man Project, which actually has started a publishing company, which I think is an awesome thing because any community needs to have its writers, and the writers have to have a place where they can voice. I mean, it's the power of the people is the pen. That's all he has been. And so it was really a good thing that we're getting an actual publishing group together so we have a place that we can focus our energies. And so it was in its budding times, and I'm sitting here with Stuart Mangrum and Andy Grace, who are pushing it, or the ones that are at the base of it. And we're saying, well, what do we call this thing? And somebody said, well, actually it was my son, Atticus, who said, well, you should call it Burning Books, Dad. And it seemed like a fun idea, but then we're going, I don't know. It's Burning Man Project, but Burning Books was a fun idea. I was imagining the logo was appearing right before my head at the pile of books in the city square with all the flames coming up off of me. But anyway.
So hey, I have some of these images from the book. Should I show some of them?
But yeah, it was illustrated by Yali Ilan.
Okay.
And he was part of our crew back in the 2000s, and he came up with some great stuff. He would back in the day do a lot of caricatures. This one is of Pepe Ozan, which is in the first part of the book, and Pepe was the one that had the operas that came out in 96, 97, and 98. And he had a couple of photographs at best in the character sketch that I wrote in the book. And this is the kind of images that he comes up with. It was just spot on. And he was I think compared to Ralph Steadman on a couple, though that name got dropped a couple of times with what it did it really added a lot of character to the book.
I love the illustrations. I thought they were so beautiful. We had this one of Pepe, which is perfect. Mm-hmm. And then we had
that's Scabhead the Rooster. The poor chickens. It's a funny thing. There's been a lot of reviews coming in about this book, and some fun ones on Amazon. And just recently, my sister, who lives in a very small town in northern Michigan, and she's, of course, very proud of her brother to finally publish a book. The family is proud. It's the first family member to actually have a book published. And so she's telling everybody. And so she went and told her neighbor, and he went down and bought one. And his review was stellar because it's somebody who knew nothing about Burning Man, just is living in a small town in Michigan. And he reads this book. And he was, of course, he said, it's really interesting, a lot of colorful characters, and it really took me there. And he said, just a warning to the PETA and the vegans, some bad things happen to the animals in the book, And I'm actually kind of.
It's not a place for animals. It really, really is
No.
not.
Or the ranch in general. I mean, even the very end of the book, which I won't ruin it, but it's true. Some bad things happen, and when I was writing the book, I remember
we
that
made the most of it, though. We made it nourished people.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is they were punking us with roosters, and Chico just turned it into stew, of which you, Fat Mandee, are the one who named it chicken rape stew.
Oh gosh! I'm so happy. I'm in the East Coast. All my students are hopefully asleep. Oh, don't, children, avoid your eyes, close your ears.
But all you were doing is telling the truth. We all hated those roosters.
Too many roosters and not enough hens, and terrible things happened. And
terrible things were happening.
We Chico saved the chickens, and we ate those roosters in a delicious.
For 3 days, I think.
Yeah, man. Well, there were like 7 or 8 roosters, man. It wasn't.
No, more like 20.
Was it really that many?
Yeah, there was like 20 of them. Nobody was getting any sleep. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. What's this other image? Oh, what's this image? Tell me about this image.
For those who've read the book, that's in part 3, and that was where we had a crazy cook who's named Dr. Holderdown, and it's.
That must have been after my time. That must have been after I was there.
Yeah, it was definitely after you. Dr. Holderdown came later.
Okay.
And for the people who are wondering, Dr. Holderdown he got his name because of the fence building process. When you're unrolling the fence, somebody has to hold the fence down while they tie it off. Yes. And so he was the guy that held it down. It had nothing to do with any sort of abusive women, as the name would suggest. But it's not. He was a crazy cook. He was a Vietnam vet. He had some serious PTSD. And which is no joke, but he was the one that was cooking for us, and everybody back then, as you see in the illustration, he's got a sidearm on him. Okay. And and the scene in the book is everybody. He had a .38 special. As a matter of fact, that's how he would bring people to breakfast. Is he'd fire a few rounds in the air, and that's how you knew breakfast was ready.
Guns, granola, and videotape.
Yeah,
that's
guns.
What we had back then. We ate it, we shot it, we watched it.
Yeah, so it was dinner time, and he was sitting across the street from this big dude. Oh my God, I wrote the book, and all of a sudden I can't remember the guy's name. And the guy, Sid, that was the guy's name. And nobody knew what they were arguing about. Everybody was just chowing down and talking. But we heard Sid say something, and we knew, I think it was Dr. Holderdown said something, and Sid stood up out of his chair. And Sid was this big giant bear of a guy. He always wore animal skins, and he had a huge knife on his tied to his leg. And it was just
kids are calling it these days.
Yeah, And he reached over and he slapped Dr. Holderdown across the face. Now, Dr. Holderdown's already a buggy-eyed crazy guy anyway, and he's got a .38 special on his hip, so everybody's waiting for Holderdown to pull it and shoot the guy. But he never did. And for the rest of the story is Dr. Holderdown just got up really slowly, went to his camp, and came back with a .44 Magnum Make My Day gun and set it on the table with the barrel pointing at Sid.
And this is in the book. I don't remember that part. I'm going to have to go back and reread.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go back and reread. Okay.
It's in the very first part of part 3.
Okay.
And one by one, starting with Will, because everybody's watching Will because he was running the camp. Will went back to his trailer and came back with a Glock or something like that, set it on next to his plate. And then one by one, people are sneaking off to their camps and coming back with their guns. And by the end of the dinner,
I did read that. Yeah. And everybody
was armed.
Quietly got their guns. Yeah.
And the next day, Will said, "All right, no guns at the dinner table. I'm making this new rule," because we didn't have very many rules at all back then. And it was one of the first actual rules that Will finally said, no, we should probably make it a rule not to bring your guns to the table.
Yeah, like that old song says, "Don't take your guns to town. Don't take your
Yeah,
guns
right.
to dinner,
To
boys."
dinner.
So hey,
He
will
was,
you? Huh?
I was just saying he would be cooking in the kitchen with his gun on this, sitting on the side.
Yeah, I never had a gun when I was cooking.
I never had a gun out there. I never did.
Other people had
Everybody,
enough guns.
yeah, there was enough guns around. Yeah. You had you were about to say something
Oh,
else.
I was well. So I really, you know what? I just loved your description. So what made me want to come back to Burning Man? So look, when I first came to Burning Man, it was actually '96, and I was brought out there by the Bindlestiff Family Circus, and I love them. It's a great show. I'm really honored to have been a part of it. But they did not warn me that we were going to the desert. So like I got out there and I fell asleep until I woke up, and when I woke up I was in the middle of 800 miles of packed salt alkali dust. And I was totally bald except for a little bit for the female side of the half man half woman act that I used to do. And I didn't have a hat, and I didn't have a sunscreen, I didn't have a water bottle, I didn't have any kind of fate like a bandana for my face. To say what you want about Chicken John, he stopped us off at the Army Navy store and bought us water bottles, hats, sunglasses, and a bandana, and prepared us for the fact that we're about to walk into the desert. But the Bindlestiffs didn't even tell me. So I was fairly miserable the whole time. Except when I finally ventured out of our camp, I went to go see Pepe's opera. And your description of it just really brought it back to me. And I don't know if we have time to run the whole portion of it, but if you could just read some of the Pepe's opera, I would love for our listening audience to be able to understand the true beauty of what we could create and the insanity of it.
Oh, yeah, indeed. I think it was maybe my fourth or fifth day at all at Burning Man. It seemed like a century had gone by. And next thing I know, I found myself a character in this opera. Let's see, I can start it right. Let's see. The high priests led the procession, carrying long staves with flaming demonic symbols atop. They were followed by demons of hell in their tall bishop's hat as they twirled. The pre-recorded sound tape started playing, an amalgam of clatters and clangs of bells and gongs, while the agonizing moans and screams of damned souls resounded in the agonies of the underworld. Then came the forsaken populace of the 9 levels, 9 levels of hell, as we wormed our way through the crowd and the torments of our appointed sins. We circled the Lingam Tower several times as the intensity increased with each pass. Everywhere I looked, there were powerful images, some that were scripted, and others that were random outbursts. Gluttony squirmed by us, with their horrible gaping mouths on their bellies. I saw a blonde dominatrix who was painted and fully pierced. She was half exotic dancing, half crawling through the dust while carrying a bucket full of blood and gore. Reaching into the bucket, she would pull out the bloody chum and take exaggerated bites, smearing the gore over her face and letting the blood drip down over her breasts and body. Turning in another direction, I saw a bald man wildly contorting himself into a tantrum of hysteria and dragging a box around him with him in the dust. Every now and then he would drag the trunk into the crowd and shut himself into it. After a few moments, he would pop back out in a fit of terror, scare jumping everyone. He would then grab the rope and rage on, dragging his trunk behind. Nobody knew if he was where he was, who he was, or where he came from. Then the soundtrack stepped up, and horns blowing, and the chorus chanting as the drumming grew louder and faster. It was the arrival of the Empress Zoe. As scripted, we all fell to our knees and bowed deeply as the gargoyles continued to heap more and more wood onto the fires, which was growing almost too hot to bear. I looked up from my crouch and saw a half-man, half-bull minotaur lugging towards me with arms outstretched, clad in leather yoke, and pulling an ornate metal chariot that carried the Empress Zoe and her lustful, naked minions. I instantly recognized the linebacker build of the minotaur. It was Will. He was wearing a hideous bull mask with horns protruding out 2 feet on either side of his head and was body painted in the bold strokes of Jason's brush. He bellowed out a huge roar as he leaned into the yoke, digging hard to pull his burden. Virgil's psychedelic guidance was blurring the lines between the worlds, and I was convinced I was in hell. The Minotaur pulled the chariot around and around the Lingham Towers as the lust levels rose. Many had climbed into the chariot, engaging in a pantomime of orgy that was becoming real, with Empress Zoe at its center. I was remembering adding the sin of envy to my wrath as I watched the chariot of sex roll by me, awash in general cries of lust. That's probably enough there. You get the idea.
I do. I'm actually showing some of this video
Yeah.
that Puzzling Evidence managed to get way back
There's
in the day.
There's the Empress Zoe right there, and that's Stephanos taking her up. And it had this real elaborate plot. You see the Empress Zoe is wearing a dildo there.
God. You know what? I'm actually going to unscreen that because that is going to get me kicked off of Facebook right now.
Well, yeah, that turned into a live sex act after that. You know?
Well, that's on Puzzling Evidence's YouTube channel if you want to go look that up yourself.
You know, I did a lot of interviews for a lot of people in researching and writing this book. And of course, still very, very good friends with Just Incredible. And she would play the role of the Empress Zoe.
Oh, I didn't know that was Justin. That's awesome.
That's Just Incredible, yeah. And she says that, you know, there was that sex scene that she had because the Stephanos played the god. He was the high priest of the high priest of hell or something like that.
Of course he was. Of course he was. Of course.
And he was, of course, he was homosexual, and Empress Zoe was a hermaphrodite, so it was a man and a woman. So the Empress Zoe had a penis, and so they had some sort of reenactment of sex on stage during the show. As you do. And so I had asked Justin later on, so was it actual? Were you actually doing it? She goes, oh, I don't remember. Probably. I don't know. It was all a blur, you know?
Well, but see, I wondered, that was the first show I saw was that. And I was like, and then I wandered to Chicken John Burning Hollywood. And I was like, these people are delightful.
What's going on?
And I saw John Law jump off the Helco Tower. And it wasn't until I met him the next year that I realized he hadn't died. Like, when he jumped off the Helco Tower, I was like, oh my God, that man just died. And then next year I met him. He's like, no, I'm fine. I used a zip line.
Yeah, that was the same thing when Crimson burned a man one time that I had no idea if she was alive or dead. And the story there is they had a Hollywood stuntman come out a couple of years in a row that wore one of those fire suits that had that flaming gel on it.
Was that Kimrick? Was that Kimrick? Because I remember Kimrick ran into the fire with a fire suit once, didn't he?
Yeah, but this wasn't Kimrick. It was some guy who only came out a couple of years, and it was a Hollywood stunt, and he was able to walk on fire for about a minute and a half. And if you set your watch right now, a minute and a half is a long time to walk around on fire. But he was able to do that, and then he had a team with him, his Hollywood team, where he would throw himself onto the ground and they hit him with fire extinguishers when the suit finally wore through. So it was such a sensation that he came back for a second year. Crimson loved it. She said, oh, you got to come back and do this every year. Because she'd take the torch and stand under the man's legs, and then she'd light the guy on fire. And he'd just walk around the crowd on fire, you know. And so the next year he came back and he climbed the steps, and he was standing right under the man with his arms up. And she tapped the torch on his head and it lit him on fire. Well, back then we had put all the pyrotechnics inside the man.
Yeah,
and
I remember.
That was I think
with like it was with burlap and beeswax. Didn't you wrap everything?
Yeah, and all the fireworks were inside his legs, inside his chest, inside his head. They had him loaded with all the pyro. Yeah, well, nowadays all the pyro. Yeah, the pyro now is in the man base, and the man just burns freely. But back then, it was just a man standing on hay bales, and he was full of fireworks. And so this is the first year we'd actually brought out a pyrotechnician. And the guy, because the BLM finally came and said, you know what, you guys are burning some pretty big fireworks. You got to have somebody with a license out there You got to have somebody.
License,
See,
schmicense.
yeah, you got to have somebody
Just
that
let
knows what
Kimrick
they're
and
doing
his dad wire it up. They've been doing it for years.
for years. So we
It's
finally
fine.
got
We're
this guy.
fine.
I can't remember what the guy's name. He was what a character. The guy had a huge powder burn on his face that he got when he was 9 years old. So this is our guy that, but he had a license. He had a pyro's license. Dave X probably remembers the guy, and he came out there, and so he actually had. It was the first time we had a show that was sequenced, where he had all the fuses on wires, and he actually had a laptop out there. Nobody could believe that somebody brought a computer to Burning Man. And he had a keyboard, and he was going to do an actual pyro show where he was going to light up the legs first, or who knows what kind of setup he had. And so Crimson has this man with this Hollywood fire suit on. She lights the man on fire, and he puts his arms up, and his arms light all the fuses in the man's legs.
So the whole thing just goes at once.
So the whole thing just went up at once. Forget any sort of Hollywood show. And the thing just exploded all at the same time. And it wasn't Burning Man. It was Exploding Man. And it blew his head right off. And pieces and parts were coming down like immediately. And I never saw if Crimson got off that platform in time or not, because it immediately started.
She's still with us, so I'm guessing she managed it somehow.
But it was the same thing you said with Kimrick, is a lot of us didn't know if she was alive or dead until we saw her in the camp the next morning. Wow. Because to me, it looked like she didn't get off that stage in time. I was certain that she was dead. And the next day I saw her.
Happened, it's written into the ticket, that you're risking your life, and good people didn't come back,
Yeah, well, she was sitting in the camp, and she was doing some of her knitting, and she had her hair, and she just, and I said, Crimson, you're alive. She goes, of course I'm alive. What are you talking about?
I watched the 96, I watched the man burn. I wasn't crazy enough to go up to the man. I watched it from inside Krista Monterey's camera obscura. So I watched it in a cool, dark place. It was much easier for me to process.
And the camera obscura is still one of my all-time favorites.
Chris did, and he made a nice thing.
Yeah,
he's a good guy.
And just his whole approach to it, he things really didn't faze him that much. And as a matter of fact, he was still building it, even though the man had burned and everybody was going home. And he was still out there tinkering away and building. And somebody had to go drive out there and say, the event's over. And he's like, huh? What? Oh.
At least he wasn't a 747. We can give him that. At least he could take his away with the truck.
Fat Mandee.
Yes,
747.
sir.
747. Good idea or bad idea?
It's a terrible idea. I mean, it's like we jumped the shark. It's like that episode of Happy Days, and it's just,
a lot of people said jump the shark, yeah. But you know what I liked about it? It was a 3-year saga. It pissed everyone off. It drained the resources. It became everybody's problem, as will happen. But I'm telling you, Mr. Feldman never lost his shit. He just kept looking for solutions and looking for the solutions. I really, towards the end, I thought it was one of the greatest failure success stories that ever came to Black Rock City.
I mean, if he eventually got it out, so he did eventually. I kind of stopped following it.
He
it's
sold it
not
to Las
there
Vegas.
anymore. Okay, good.
It's a casino in Las Vegas.
That's perfect. That's exactly what that needed to have
if
happen.
I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Andy doesn't feel the same way. Andy is definitely not in agreement with you there.
Yeah, Bruiser just said fuck 747s, but yeah, I mean, he was the one that had to inherit a lot of that mess. It's like, well, we're going to need some heavy equipment to push this around. Who do we talk to? Well, DPW. And ask Cowboy Carl about the 747. He didn't much like it.
I miss Cowboy Carl. He was such a sweetheart.
Yeah, but I got to say, I mean, in that third year, they were trying to get the thing off. He every day he was writing $10,000 checks, and every plan he was, and to his defense, the BLM was not helping at all. They were roadblocking him on everything, and so and so he was up against he was getting it from all sides. He was getting it from the DPW was giving him shit, BLM, the internet was going nuts.
When I was there, like the worst thing we did was when I can't remember his name, the poor crackhead who parked the only working legal vehicle we had on the train tracks.
Oh yeah. Yeah, train wreck. That was train wreck the first one. Poor guy. He got off at the nick of time though.
He did, but the truck didn't. The truck we had issues with.
No, it was our only truck got hit by a train, you know. So there was a one time where Logan, who was the volunteer coordinator or the labor guy, labor coordinator, him and I went out to Deep Playa to check up on 647, see how they were doing. And we drove up. I kid you not. They were literally a bunch of guys outside with their hands on the landing gear, pushing. Like it was a pickup truck stuck in the snow.
I'm losing your voice a little bit. Like you're turning a little electronic. I don't know why that is.
Check 1 2. Is that better?
No, you're like totally an Android or something.
How's that? Is that better?
Nope. I don't know what's going on with your microphone.
Stand by. I know what we can do.
Is it your computer or your phone or?
Can you hear me now?
No.
Are you hearing me now?
It's getting really weird.
Are you hearing me now?
I can hear you, but it's like all breaking up and stuff.
Oh, that's gotta be my internet.
Well, I'm actually gonna, yeah, I don't know. Let's try. I'll unmute you for a second, but we might have to move on. Yeah, I can't.
All right, check one.
Internet! Well, I just wanted to let you know that, hold on. Michelle Ochoa wanted to hate the project, the 747, but they let her sit in the cockpit and they hooked her up. So she changed her mind there.
Hear me now.
Nope, robots ate you. Bruisers says robots ate you.
Oh, shit. All right.
Okay, well, I love you, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I got a musical guest coming up after I sing a song, but friends, give it up for Tony, Coyote, Perez-Banuet. Without him, we would have been a much more disorganized mess. And thanks for reading to us from your book. I love you. Mwah. Bye. Bye. Give it up for Tony. Oh, I'm sorry we didn't get to listen to more of his stories, but you know, they're all in his book, and I'm just so grateful he came on and read some of them to us. You know what I wanted to do is I wanted to sing a little song for you before I brought out my next guest, and what I wanted to sing is this song that I wrote for Pepe. He didn't really like it. He said this song, it is making a little bit of fun of me, yes. And yes, Pepe, it was making a little bit of fun of you, but I make fun of myself all the time, and I make fun of my friends because I like to make fun. But I love you, Pepe, and this one's for you. And after this, we're going to bring out my dear friend Lesley Freeman, one of the collaborators from the Mysticverse. stories about Burning Man long ago. Pepe was an amazing and magical creature. He brought together artists who would toil in the mud for months, creating spires and bridges and yawnies and lingams, and then he would burn them all down in a great spectacle of fabulosity and fire. He never let me in the opera, but I'm not bitter anymore, because I love him. He's my Pepe, and he's better than, he's so much better than you. If you should see him standing right there, if you should see him with his long flowing hair, you're blessed with Pepe, because he has no, yes he has no hair. Would you like to be a Pepe? That was my song for Pepe, and I love you, man. I miss you. I'll see you on the other side, and we'll burn it all down together. I'm going to bring up to my friend now. She's my friend. She's my cast member. Here she comes. Give it up for Lesley.
Hey, Mandee, great to be here.
Thanks for coming on.
Oh my gosh, what a great conversation you've been having.
Did you enjoy that? It went on for a long time.
Oh, every minute of it.
Yay.
Yay.
Yay. So friends, how I know my friend Lesley here is we met through the Burning Opera, How to Survive the Apocalypse by Eric Davis and Mark Nichols. And we performed it together at Teatro Zinzani in 2009, and we've been friends ever since. And she is actually one of the collaborators giving us the Mysticverse. She and a whole crew of people. Can you tell me about the Mysticverse?
Yeah, the Mysticverse is one of the 8 official universes at Burning Man 2020. It's a unique combination of 3D and 2D ways to interact with art and other people, and this event is presented through the Mysticverse. Later on, you may be able to find it again inside of structures and other places. Yeah. And this hat actually is a gift from Dana Harrison, who produced our Burning Opera in 2009, was a great, herded all of us cats to make this incredible piece of magic, and she passed away 2 years ago, and I have this hat from her.
I still have her business card.
Oh.
Right here, I kept it.
There it is, Post Playa Productions.
In my Rolodex. She actually, Dana was the first person to see me as an artist and lift me up out of the DPW hellscape and got me a gig in the cafe. I was like, I just want to sing some of my songs. In the cafe. She's like, okay, no problem. And she marched right over. She got on a thing and said, Mandee's coming over. Give her a time slot. And that was my first ever, actual thing that I could do as an artist at Burning Man,
Wow.
That was out of besides what I had done with the circus chicken, we'd done with the chicken, but as far as, me as an individual, not as, a conglomeration of screaming clowns.
Right. Right. Well, there's Dana, Business Babe. That was her name on Playa.
Oh, I love that she gave you a wee hat.
Yes, a wee hat.
Yeah. So are you going to sing us some of your stuff tonight?
I'm going to sing one song from the opera.
Okay, then maybe we'll watch that clip you sent me.
Yeah. What do you think? Should we watch it first or after?
Well, do you have 2 songs for us?
I could do the 2 or just the 1, depending how time is.
I think maybe you should do one song. We'll watch the clip and then do the second song.
Okay, great.
If you're cool with that.
Sounds good to me. Let's see how this sounds. How's it? Can you pick up both?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Excellent. This is a little song I wrote. It appeared in 2009 in our original workshop version of the show, when we created like a cabaret at the end of the desert. Ahoy, hoy, and hey, dar, har. Greetings from a land bizarre. I walked along a stony beach and saw a village to the east. Then a breeze done knocked me down. I scraped my rear on rocky ground. The villagers, in hasty haste, cured my bruised and damaged place. Blessings for the derriere, for villagers and windy air. Blessings for the derriere, for villagers and windy air. Ahoy, hoy, and hey, dar, har. Greetings from a land bizarre. I walked a strand of sandy land where oranginess was strictly banned. Then beyond the gates of town, I heard a backwoods moonshine sound and saw a mob in hasty haste, a brewing orange juice concentrate. Blessings for the pulp and rind, for oranginess and sweet moonshine. Blessings for the pulp and rind, for oranginess and sweet moonshine. Thank y'all.
Yay!
Yay.
I love it.
Are both voice and guitar coming through?
Yeah, I can hear you both really well. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yep.
Yeah, so cool. We're actually watching a premiere cut of excerpts from Mandee and me doing Burning Opera, How to Survive the Apocalypse.
Yes, we are, and I am gonna pull that up right now. Share audio and share, and we're gonna. Whoops! How do I do this? Oops! How do I? Yeah. Okay. There we go. Okay. Okay, let's see if we can hear it. This was put together. This was Lesley and my number together that we sang with Darko, and this song was written by.
It's.
Huh? You want to introduce it while I get this ready?
Okay, yeah, this is a medley that kind of gives context to our Burning Opera show since 2009 with a 10-year reunion that we just did in November. Yeah, and it highlights excerpts that Mandee and I sang together through the show, with a few like what are they called, transition moments, and it was just edited special for us today here.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks. And it was, so the Burning Opera was composed by Mark Nichols, and the libretto was by Eric Davis, who you see standing there.
Okay, should I hit play? Let me know if you can hear the sound.
Okay.
To acknowledge from the get-go the abject absurdity of trying to cram an event as intense and paradoxical and as meaningful to as many people as Burning Man into 2 hours of musical theater. This consternating crew of, well, very colorful individuals. This show is a transmission.
And exiting the gates are subject to search by the gate staff. You agree to follow all federal, state, reservation, and county laws. Commercial.
To all the malls along the highway.
You got sunscreen, shades, and bicycles.
Got condoms, tarps, and cans of beans.
This is a transportation zone. Come on!
The bone and express yourself. No!
spectators.
I don't even know if it's right. I've seen some strange things, cabbages and
I think I took some acid.
and I'd like to be 30 feet tall,
30 feet tall.
bouncing around like a gelatin ball.
Game's over.
Oh, oh, oh,
And then we thought, wow, next year, this year, is the 10-year anniversary of How to Survive the Apocalypse in the Teatros Insani performance, which, in my humble opinion, was the ne plus ultra.
Do you want to break on through to the other side? Or whether you just want to piss people off, there's always another line in the sand to cross.
I hope you have prepared yourself. Hit all the malls along the highway. Pee on the playa.
Well, certainly not that. I would never do that.
I saw you do it.
Well, I only do it when you're watching.
It's not allowed.
No, and hey, you!
Hey, you!
Get over here!
Hey, oh my God, welcome home.
Oh,
Can we give you a consensual hug?
yeah, that would be nice. Oh, pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Virgin.
He means, have you been here before, screwed like the rest of us?
Oh, no, I guess, I haven't been here before.
Well, what's your story, sir?
Step up to the mic and express yourself. No spectators.
It took 2 years for my friends to convince me I needed to be. That's funny, because with my charm
That's so great.
and husband run off.
This was the November.
Yeah, this was last November 2019.
Yeah, 10-year reunion.
Friends thought it would heal me, release me, renew me, reveal me, embrace the change. Then she flaked.
Flaked and snowflaked and mandrake and rattlesnake.
Heartache and jailbreak, but don't cry for my sake. 'Cause everyone makes inside, everyone makes and lies, and eventually everyone wakes and gets what they want.
Well, gets what they need. Everyone gets what they
Oh, I want to bring this show to Pittsburgh so bad.
Oh man.
And the Friends.
Let me come do it too.
Absolutely.
Oh no.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark and Eric. I think my heart explodes every time we hear that music.
It really does. It's such a beautiful piece, and I think even people who haven't been to Burning Man really enjoy it because it just makes it accessible. It's so hard to understand what the thing is about. It's hard to explain why 80,000 people trek out annually to a dead salt flat, and everybody thinks it's a big rave, and for a lot of people it is. But there's a real community of people all over the world, and now we know each other because of it.
Now we know each other because of it. So many of us have ties because of it. So much of the world has evolved in a surprising way because of it. Ah, my gosh.
Thanks, Eric and Mark, for writing it, and thanks, Mark, for putting that edit together. That was sweet. Ooh, you have one more song for us?
Yeah, I've got one more. Eric Davis wrote these lyrics for me, and then I set it to music. So I'm gonna go ahead and share it now. It's a story of a moment in time at Burning Man. Let's see here. Well, I biked away from the city and immediately lost all my pals. Went out to see a temple of trash, hit a stake and took a fall. A dust devil came and it swallowed me whole. I cursed and I cried and I sweat and I sobbed when out of the swirling dust I saw a UFO drive up and open its door. They picked me up and they fixed my bike, and then they poured me some wine. They gave me a rather erotic massage that supercharged all my spine. I don't know where they were from, San Jose or the Pleiades, but they sure enough showed me the cosmic power of joy and adversity. But they sure enough showed me the cosmic power of joy and adversity. There you go.
Yay! Oh, I love that one.
Yeah.
I love it.
And you know, the funny thing about that song is none of the words rhyme at all. It completely doesn't have one rhyme in it, and it works. It's great testament to Eric Davis's abilities with words. Yeah.
Woo. Well, hopefully we can get some of these kids together for a pop-up cabaret show later this week. And,
Yes.
you know, if any Burning Opera folks are watching, or, you know, any DPW folks with a talent, you know, hit me up. And if Lesley's the entertainment director for Mysticverse, so if there's any open slots, we're going to try and jump in.
Yeah, we will. We'll let you know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Phat Mandee, for having me on your show and for bringing your angelic voice and fun conversation to the Mysticverse.
Well, thank you for creating a verse and inviting us so Tony and I could share stories. And Tony, I see you backstage. If you, I'll tell Tony that in a second. But ladies and gentlemen, everybody in between and on beyond, put your digital phalanges together for our incredible, talented artist, the one and unfortunately only Lesley Sprite Freeman. I love you.
Love you.
I love you. Let's stay in touch for later this week. Hopefully something will happen.
Sweet.
Okay. Yay, that was Lesley. That was Lesley, my friend, the Sprite Freeman. She's fabulous and wonderful. And I got a couple more songs for you, but I see my boy Coyote. Coyote, did you get your audio fixed?
I think maybe you can hear me now.
I can actually hear you now. Yeah, so my friends on my other chat on my Facebook page are saying turn off extra programs, restart your audio, make sure only one app is running the audio.
Yeah. I've actually been hearing rumors that Burning Man's crashing the internet right now with everybody going to the multiverse.
Oh, wow.
And it's getting glitchy all over.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Possible. It's possible. Did you hear Lesley? Wasn't she awesome?
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, and
have you met her before? Did you ever meet her?
Oh, in passing.
Okay.
You know, but I know Eric Davis real well, and that the whole opera that came out there. If anyone hasn't seen it, it's a hell of a treat because it really does. It really identifies what happened with the split between John Law and Larry Harvey, and both of them had every reason to make the choices that they did, and then neither of them faulted the other for it. It was just a split in the ways, you know. And so.
Yeah, they both had really good reasons for thinking about what they were thought, and I agree. I think that particular opera, How to Survive the Apocalypse, tells that story, and that's why I wanted to do it. You know,
yeah.
Dana Harrison, Biz Babe, I knew from DPW because she was in charge of all of the money.
Yeah.
At Burning Man, you know, and so that's how I knew her, and she was producing that show, and she was like, "Yeah, I want you in it. You know, we want." You know, she had Harley was in it, Danger Ranger was in it. You know, she tried to get some of us old timers in it. You know, and it worked out.
Yeah, it's quite a piece for the archives, and should be kept and resurfaced actually.
I have dreams for it. I have very big dreams. Whether or not any of them come to pass. My dreams. When we got together last November, I was all like, we got to go to the Fringe. Let's go to the Edinburgh Fringe, and the actual logistics of transporting 30, 40 people to Scotland for 3 months, or 3 or 4 weeks, just and then the Rona. So it's not like
the Rona.
Yeah. But yeah, did you want to read us anything else, or are you done for the night?
No, boy, we've been on for a bit. Maybe I don't know. I really didn't have anything queued up.
Okay, I got a couple more songs. I just saw you backstage, and I didn't know if you had.
I would like to just finish my thought on this.
Yeah. Tell us about 747.
Well, what really to finish
Boobs LaRue. I want to hear about Boobs LaRue too.
Oh, you do? Well, I do have that story queued up.
Okay, well, tell us about the 747, and then let's close on Boobs LaRue.
All I wanted to say about that is that even at that time when they were literally out of their trucks trying to just push this damn thing out of the mud, push a 747 out of the mud, and Logan and I looked at each other and said, it was my impulse to jump out and try and help, but this is one of those times where we didn't really jump out and try and help push a 747. And Ken Feldman came up and just kind of had this, well, I guess that's not going to work. And I would have melted down and jumped off a bridge 30 times earlier. But the guy, we'd see him at the Miners Club in the morning, and he said, let me get 25 breakfast burritos and and just, hi, good morning, how are you? Oh, we're trying something different today. We're on plan Triple Z. And he just never gave up, and it never faded. It never broke him. He finally got his shit off the playa. He didn't stop until it was done.
And it took 3 years. Was it 3 years?
It was a 3-year saga. It's just it came out in pieces and parts. And so, say what you will about it. I just really had the hats off at the end that the guy never broke. He never gave up. Wow. I would have melted down 1,000 times.
I mean, I just remember in 1998 when we got hit with the rains, and the locals were making fun of us because we thought really that we might have to call in the National Guard to save the survivalists.
Yeah.
Because we literally couldn't get out, and we managed to get it out, but I couldn't even imagine trying to get something that big.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Because it sinks, the land. It's just not. It's a lake bed. It's a mostly dry most of the time lake bed, but.
Yeah, it's like I said, when people say if the 747 was a bad idea, well, Burning Man is a bad idea.
A lot of friends. Yeah, I actually worked with this really beautiful group of Native American artists a year and a half ago on a big project. And I was like, oh, you're from out west? Oh, yeah, I used to be a volunteer for Burning Man. And they were like, oh, yeah, we don't want to hear about that. We have some repair work to do with a lot of communities, I think, sometimes.
Well, we're definitely on it. That's, it sure brings the community itself. I think this year is one of those years where we really did find out just how much people love the event by creating this multiverse. I'm not trying to keep pumping it, but it really is blowing my mind that people put that much work into it and really cared that much to maintain what we have going. It's really something.
It reminds me kind of a little bit. Danger Ranger had that Silver Seed vehicle, and he was trying to travel around to visit little local Burning Man communities, regional burns and stuff. And he was trying to connect. Because back then it took forever to download one little picture. There was none of this
Yeah, none of this that's eating up San Francisco's internet.
I think it's amazing. I'm gonna get on and look around and see who I can see. And
yeah, it's a little bit of a pain in the ass to get in there, and you just got to keep trying and trying this and trying that, and then eventually you find yourself in there.
It's not as hard as driving 4 days across the country with
it's not
a box truck and people that you used to be friends with.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll just read a couple little pieces of it if you like.
I would love some boobs, LaRue.
Okay. Let's see.
So I should say, actually, boobs, LaRue. So we're talking about my friend Lola, may she rise in power, and her daughter Bonnie, and now Bonnie's brother, Lola's son Tom. They've all gone on to glory, and they lived in town. And Lola and her daughter Bonnie brought us food. You know, they actually brought me slushies on dry ice from Reno once. You know, they loved us, and they lived in, you know, they thought we were just crazy and hilarious.
I remember Lola one time brought the survey crew out a treat, and she had been telling me for days, I got this treat that I'm going to bring out to you, you know. And so we're setting up, and the survey crew there's nothing out there at all. We're the first ones out there. And here comes her station wagon, and she had brought grocery store sushi that she had gotten from Fernley. By the time it got out to the playa, it was marbles and hard. It was just completely hard and rocks. And I was telling everybody, you better eat it. You better like it, because Lola brought it all the way out here. Yeah. I got a special surprise for you. She brought sushi from the Fernley grocery store.
Bless her.
Bless her heart. Bless her heart.
Can't even imagine what Fernley sushi would taste like.
Even when you're in Fernley.
1999. I mean,
then put it in the back of a station wagon for a day and drive out to playa. Oh my God. But she had a heart of gold. Let's see. I heard that the crew out here was from a circus. She said, you know, I traveled with a carnival as a sideshow for years, so I know how to freak out a freak show. I even put my brassiere on for you. That doesn't often happen, because it usually takes me all morning to get it on. It was true that all eyes were on Lola's bosom. You can't find a brassiere this large in a store. It has to be custom made. It's the only one I have, and I only put it on for special occasions, like meeting you, Coyote. She gave me a nudge that almost knocked me over. It still is the biggest bra I have ever seen. It reminded me of a suspension bridge with cables and trusses coming down off her shoulders and anchoring into some sort of steel grid foundation tucked away underneath, as if someone with an engineering degree had designed it. It was made of thick padded mattress fabric. It looked like it was holding up 50-pound sacks of grain. The hard part is clasping it up in the back, she said. There's about 30 of them little hooks. Let's see. I'll skip ahead a little bit. Let's see. It says Lola and Fat Mandee were from worlds apart, but it sure didn't seem so seeing them sitting together. This is later on. We're all sitting by the fire, and Lola and you had just met, and they were from worlds apart, but it sure didn't seem so sitting there sitting. Oh Jesus! It sure didn't seem so seeing them sitting together. Lola was in her 70s and had spent the last 40 years of her life living in an old inn in the center of Gerlach with her disabled son Tommy. The inn was long out of business, and all the rooms were now crammed with stuff. Fat Mandee was in her early 20s, lived in the middle of Pittsburgh, and traveled with the Shock Theater Circus. We sat and watched two ladies from drastically different backgrounds and two generations between them, but woven from the same threads of maverick fortitude and goddess integrity. They may as well have been grandmother and granddaughter. Well, said Fat Mandee, Chicken John has had the show for a while and keeps us pretty busy. We have a gap in our bookings right now, so we thought we could fill our time setting up Burning Man. We did it last year too, but it was all different. But it's all different this year with this new location. So let's see. Let's see. You know, I used to travel the show myself back in the 40s and 50s, Lola answered. It would take a bunch to shock me. She gave a rough wave with her hand, and she took a swig from her flask. Or me, said Bev. I've seen a thing or two. You'd be wise not to underestimate the widows of Gerlach. So what was your act, Lola? Asked Fat Mandee. I was a female wrestler. Yet again, Lola brought a hush onto the circle as we were all constructing our own versions of this imagery. There weren't too many of us back then, so I would usually end up wrestling men and kicking their butts every time because they wouldn't know where to grab me. I'm really fat now and my boobs have blown up like weather balloons, but they were still pretty gigantic back then. So the owner of the carnival went with it and gave me my stage name. Pray tell, asked Fat Mandee. It was Boobs LaRue. Boobs LaRue. Oh my God, we would have you join our show on the spot just for the name alone. Yep, Boobs LaRue. Remember, things weren't exactly, how do you all say, politically correct back then. I never knew that was your stage name, said Bev. My God, you know a person for 40 years and the things you never know about them. Wow, you should see some of my old flyer posters with my picture on them. I got a bunch somewhere in one of the in rooms. Boy, I haven't thought about those days for a long time. And it's funny because right now, the inn is, I think, being renovated. And
That's
we
what
know
you told me. You know what?
Yeah.
That guy coming. You know him? You said you know him?
Yeah, I know him really well. And he's definitely going to do some good things with it and keep the spirit of it. And he's definitely going through those rooms a little bit at a time. And I said, if you come across any of those pictures of Boobs LaRue in a wrestling stance in the 1930s,
I would love to even just see it. I mean,
oh
my
yeah, who
God.
knows? You know,
She taught me how to cook every part of the pig. She was all about cooking pig's heads. She loved cooking food from the Basque country. She's like, my family's Basque, you know, and I didn't know what the heck Basque was back then, you know, but I was like, okay, it's food, yay.
Yeah, she would make a sailor brush, as they say. You know, I've been a bartender for a lot of years and been telling jokes forever. And she would tell jokes that I would never repeat. Oh my God, she'd take me off to the side and crack a joke, and I go, oh my God, Lola, Jesus. She was pretty stout.
Yep, love her, miss her daughter, Bonnie, miss Tommy, miss them all.
Yeah.
I'll see him at that great big burn in the sky.
Great big burn in the sky.
Yeah. Well, Tony, Coyote, thanks so much for coming on. It's so nice to see you. You look beautiful.
Well,
I
thank
don't think I've ever seen your skin before. It's usually covered in a thin sheen.
Well, I just love how this whole thing has come full circle. You know, we were having such a crazy time back then, and then writing this book. I think my favorite part of the whole saga, the 4-year journey of putting this book together, was rehooking up or reacquainting with the characters in the book. I mean, I called John Joyce. I called a lot of them. You know, I couldn't get a hold of Pierre. I did talk to Pierre Pressure.
I got Pierre's number. He called me the first day we were in lockdown. He was tripping his face off somewhere outside of Philadelphia, so I'm thinking he's probably all right.
And I said, okay, well, what happened to Nostril Dumbass? And everybody goes, I don't know.
He was, yeah, he had a lot of issues. I hope he's okay. I kind of don't think he is, but
I don't know.
yeah.
Well, I'm just glad that the story's finally given a little bit of air.
He was a sweet kid. He really, really was, and he did some amazing things in the show. He did. I remember that one girl. You know who I hooked up with. I hooked up with. I saw Insectivora at the Coney Island Sideshow last. I did shows with her, and I thought I was crazy for the first week because they kept calling her by her stage name, and I knew her government name, and I was like, and eventually I had to say to her, hey, I know you, right, from like 20 years ago, like, and your name is the government name. And she's like, yeah, I don't go by that name anymore, but yes, you're not crazy, that is me, but nobody here knows me by that name. And she's doing really well. Her act was beautiful, and I remember back in the desert, she would do the flaming fireballs from down there.
Yeah,
you know, where she would, the butane, and then the light, and the very impressive entertainer. Her fire is beautiful these days, and I worked with her at the Coney Island Sideshow. I came out of retirement last year to join Coney Island's cast.
Yeah, I remember the act well. Actually, I never got to see it because I could never get in close enough.
Well, and then we also had a lovely young lady named Aura who could swing a 6-pack of pounders from her piercings, you know.
Her genital one?
Good times, man. We were a talented, hardworking crew who could pound fence posts.
Well, I do remember when I finally we got back into Reno, and I did see everybody that had been working with them all summer, and then I finally got to see their acts.
Sansa says hey. Yay, Sansa. She's a beautiful circus lady.
Absolutely. The talent abounds.
Yay.
But yeah, when I finally did see the Shock Theater show, it was shocking. I'll just say that. It was act after act, and each one got deeper. Oh my God, it was crazy.
Yeah, I just ate a little glass to fit in. You know,
you were just the.
I just played a little cello in the band.
Yeah, all you did was eat light bulbs.
Just ate a little light bulb, played a little cello, like
Sing
you do. Oh yeah, sure. Fat chick fist mastication. Yeah. Sure.
Oh boy.
Yay.
Well, a lot of the spirit is still out there. It just there's a certain things. Like there's certain camps that never did return, and there was one camp. I think it was the Aesthetic Meat Foundation that they were for 2 years, and the first time I saw those guys, they were fighting in the Thunderdome, and they weren't wearing harnesses. They were dangling from their back here.
Bless.
And so you don't see a lot of that level of crazy out at Black Rock City anymore. But they were definitely fighting, hanging from their back piercings and blood dripping down their backs. And so there was a lot of things that were a little more stout back then. And interesting that I was listening to Stuart Mangrum talk. He's been out there since I think '93 or something like that. He was the original communications director, and he's now in charge of the philosophical team. And he was in an interview, and somebody was saying, "So, what do you miss about the old day most? Is it the guns? When you miss the guns, do you miss the craziness? No offense." And he said, "Actually, I miss the darkness because Burning Man is a very, very blinky, glittery place right now, which is fine by me. But back then, it was just a couple of campfires, and maybe a few lanterns, and everything."
I remember I was walking across the playa with David Apocalypse, and we could hear this clink, 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 and then we followed the sound of the clink, clink, and we heard just Johnny Cash on like a transistor radio or something, or a tape player, just getting a little, like, totally tinny, and then a little bit louder, a little bit and we were like a half a mile away.
Oh,
and
boy.
you could hear Johnny Cash on a tape player and somebody's hammer, and we just followed that sound to find Charlie Smith from Georgia working on the heart.
Yep, the darkness and the quiet.
You know, it was dark, it was quiet. I remember also Kimrick wanted to become an anti-DJ called DJ Harshmellow. And he was trying to figure out if SRL could build a machine that was like anti-sound. You know, because it was just... But I think the best raves I ever went to was a steampunk rave. And it was the Neverwas Haul and the front porch out in the middle of like deep playa, as we could get. And there was like, you couldn't hear any electronic music. You couldn't see any electronic things unless people rolled up with them. But it was just the house, the Neverwas Hall on the front porch, and like some guys with a banjo and a tap dancer and a washboard. You know, that was our steampunk rave.
Yeah, well, that was always one of my favorite parts of actually working with DPW is that we get that special week where the rave camps or the sound systems haven't showed up yet. It's not just the rave camps, but the sound systems. And there would be a time where you'd be sitting in your camp and you could hear somebody playing a guitar. You realize that they were at one of the ranger outposts. The wind was just riding right. And you hear somebody playing a guitar out of, 3 o'clock in whatever, I don't know, B or whatever it is, Tokyo. And you can hear someone singing. And, that's all there was. And I also like the fact that there's only one thing to do on a certain night. Where's everybody going? Well, tonight is the roll-up bar at Heat. Well, where are we going tonight? Well, the ghettos have an opening. And then that's
Black Sabbath pancakes. That's what I miss. I miss Black Sabbath pancakes.
This year it was supposed to be the grand return, the triumphant return of Camp Carp. It was in the works, and then COVID hits. but it was going to happen. I had all the ducks in order. We had them placed. We had block sale tickets for them and all that sort of thing. They were going to make their grand
Oh,
return.
well, keep me posted. I would come back to camp with Carp. I like them a lot.
Well, we'll see. I don't know. It's.
I talked to Russ. I talked to Russ a couple weeks ago. Actually, I texted Russ. I miss him. He built me a beautiful dish drainer.
Yeah.
He saw me struggling out there with no dish drainer, and he built me one. He made his own nails out of wire, and he took like a piece of wood and split a piece of wood into like a bunch of littler pieces of wood and made his own nails out of wire. And I had a dish drainer, and it was just like a miracle.
He was that kind of guy. I still think Cab Carp was one of the best run carps that ever hit.
Oh yeah.
It just really was a machine.
Fish
Wonderful.
tacos.
Yeah, all of it.
The shower booth.
And the ramp of death.
Oh god. Katie Bell played me once. She had a little homemade you roll it in a music box thing, but it was playing Black Sabbath.
Oh god, yeah.
That was like the best thing I saw that year. I was like, oh.
Well, for those who don't know the backstory on that, Black Sabbath was a direct response to All Night Raving. And it was Sunday morning, and so we Camp Carp would get together with the Space Cowboys, and the Space Cowboys had a huge sound system.
K-Mog.
All right.
K-Fog or whatever it was.
Yeah,
It was
the Mog or whatever the thing was. It was gigantic.
I sang on that once for the Flaming Lotus Girls. I sang that was my sound system when I sang for the Serpent Mother.
They'd start bright and early at 8:00, or maybe even earlier. And just
it was great. It was great because everybody was coming down off of E. And, I've never done it, but I'm told that there's, a big serotonin crash. And, when you come off the E, you just become, really irritable.
I'm sure.
So, I wouldn't know. I've never done it, but, I'm told. So, yeah, the Black Sabbath, I am Iron Man.
Yeah, I am Iron Man.
With delicious
bow. Yeah. As a matter of fact, anytime I hear Black Sabbath, it triggers some sort of. I can smell the pancakes, and Flash running the Bloody Mary bar. It's some of the heaviest hangovers I've ever had. Is at Black Sabbath pancakes, morning after burn night, and trying to cure the hangover with let's give you another vodka tonic, I guess.
That'll help. That'll help.
That'll help.
Okay, man, I love you so much. Thanks for coming on. This was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. We can do more of this stuff. I think I'm doing another one tomorrow on another part of the multiverse. I'm not exactly sure where it is. It was, but we'll be doing more storytelling and podcasting because it's time. We might as well trumpet these stories out there.
Tell our stories. Otherwise, somebody else will tell them for us.
Why don't I start telling the Volari Chronicles?
Best vehicle out there, man. That and the bucket. That's Burning
the
Man
bucket.
For me.
Oh, here's a little insight. We'll leave the night with this one. I don't know if Bruiser's still listening there, but we come to find out that the bucket was a Chrysler LeBaron, but it had the same motor as a Plymouth Volare, a 318 Chrysler 318. Well, we found out doing a lot of research and looking at photographs that Flynn's bucket was not a LeBaron. It had a LeBaron front end on it because we looked at the whole thing and somebody looked and the front end didn't match the body. It was from two different cars. And we realized that the car had been in a wreck and they took the old front end off and put a LeBaron front end on. And that's why we thought it was a LeBaron. The bucket was a Volare. It was a Volare station wagon. How about that?
I don't think that was the only car that was half and half that year because wasn't that poor guy that got and he eventually came back, the guy who got partly paralyzed by one of the vehicles.
Oh.
And that was two vehicles also. I don't know. That's not the only car that had two VIN numbers out there. I know
turns
that.
out, but it turns out that the bucket was a Valari the whole time, and I just think that's
awesome.
that's pretty special. Way, Bruiser's saying no way. Way, dude, it's true.
Oh,
I had a buddy.
Samuel Congelio, we're gonna watch a little bit of his video in a minute because I'm gonna sing my Neverwas Haul song. But he says the Space Cowboys vehicle was the Unimog.
Unimog, that's it.
The Unimog.
Yes,
thank you, Samuel. Yes.
Yes. All right. Well, let's hear a song, and I'm going to sign off it myself. All right.
Okay, I love you so much. Night, Tony. You're the
All
best,
right.
Coyote. Oh, that was my coyote. That's a terrible coyote noise. I'm sorry.
I can't do a coyote. Something like that.
Oh, I love you.
Love you too.
Oh, friends, that was my beautiful friend Tony Coyote Perez, and he's telling us some of our stories from back in the day when we built the Burning Man in 1997 and 8 and 9, and just really enjoying his book Built to Burn. I've got one more song for you, and then I have a special guest to close this night. This song I'm going to sing right now is one I wrote for the Neverwas Haul, and I am going to try and share this screen so you can see what I am talking about. My friend Samuel L. Congelio put this beautiful footage together, and the Neverwas Haul is a vehicle that was created by Shannon O'Hare and Kimrick Smythe. And it was a traveling 3-story house. So I'm gonna show this video and sing this song. I might repeat the video. I actually returned to Burning Man after years of not having gone because I saw the drawings for this thing and I didn't think it was possible. I thought it was a joke, and there was no way that this could happen, but as you can see, it happened. It built. It was a 3-story house. The Traveling Academy of Unnatural Sciences, and the very definition of steampunk. And here is the song that I wrote for her. Neverwas Academy, I never lost the sight of thee. I loved you long, and I loved you true. I could never forget the sight of you. As years walked by and wars raged on in battle, I think fondly on the dearest girl who ever loved, and the saddest boy she never loved. Oh, heave ho, and God save the Queen. They cannot stop us now, boys, we have tasted the dream. I didn't know what happened, what you did with your degree, but I hope you'll hear my tune someday and know it came from me. Oh, heave ho, and God save the Queens. They cannot stop us now, boys, we have tasted the dream. My lifeblood soaks the Zeppelin, the skies can have my soul. The never was, it's forevermore, that always was the goal. Oh, heave ho, and God save the Queens. They cannot stop us now, boys, we have tasted the dream. Oh, heave ho, and God save the Queens. They cannot stop us now, boys, we have tasted the dream. another cuppa. Ask to the gods to save our souls. The never was is forevermore. That always was our goal. Oh, heave ho, and God save the queens. They cannot stop us now, boys. We have tasted the dream. Oh, heave ho, and God save the queens. They'll never stop us now, boys. We have tasted the dream. Sing, oh, heave ho, and God save the queens. They'll never stop us now, boys. We have tasted the dream. Never was this forevermore. Shannon O'Hare, Kathy O'Hare, Kimrick Smythe, and crew. That was a beautiful thing. That was a beautiful thing. 3-story house, riding around the playa for just 'cause you could. Just 'cause you could. Traveling Academy of Unnatural Sciences. See if Tommy Amoeba is handy. Is my sweet husband handy? Yay! Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring you to the staging area. My dear sweet husband, Tommy Amoeba, the lowest form of life. Can you sit down? Okay. Hey, help, I'm caught. Oh no, pay no attention to the fat chick caught up in her wires. What's going on? Help, Tommy. I'm having issues. Okay. No, I don't know what's going on. Help. Okay, I'm just going to leave these on. Ladies and gentlemen, bringing to the staging area, Tommy Amoeba, the lowest form of life, my sweet husband. We had our, okay, there he goes. There he goes. Sing us your theme song, Tommy Amoeba. You can tilt the camera, tilt the screen down a little bit so they can see you a little bit better. Sorry. I thought you were standing. There you go. There you go. That's perfect.
Okay.
Will you sing us your theme song, Tommy Amoeba?
Yes. Hi, I'm Tommy Amoeba, and this is my theme song. It's called The Ballad of Tommy Amoeba. It goes like this. He was formed in primordial ooze when chemicals merged and something grew. He split in 2 and then in 4. So now today there's a whole lot more. Viva Amoeba, the lowest form of life. Tommy Amoeba, he'll make it all right. Others evolved to higher forms. The dodo bird and the dinosaur, the human being. And cockapoo, Tommy remained to himself true. Viva Amoeba, the lowest form of life. Tommy Amoeba, he'll make it all right. Viva Amoeba, Viva Amoeba, Tommy Amoeba. And the spiders from Mars.
That was beautiful, Tommy Amoeba. Will you sing another song with me?
I will. If
Yay.
you want me to.
Yeah, just the props person will get those. The stage manager. Careful my wire.
I,
You gonna stand up?
yeah, I guess so.
Okay, let's raise the mic a little bit. Okay.
And the screen.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Back up a little bit. Let me see.
Watch the chair. And
Okay. There, that's perfect. We could hold hands and wait for the ride.
or we could just stand on opposite sides.
Face one another as we start to spin round.
And the floor drops down.
Won't you ride the rotor with me? Won't you ride the rotor with me? As they turn the motor, the rotor turns round. Ride the rotor with me. Stuck to the wall by centrifugal force. I thought that we'd fall as a matter of course.
But nothing compares to the feeling I found
When that floor drops down.
Won't you ride the rotor with me?
Yes, I will. Won't you ride the rotor with me?
I'll do that.
Yay! You'll turn the motor, and the rotor turns round. Ride the rotor with me. Won't you ride the rotor with me?
Ride the rotor with me.
As they turn the rotor turns round. Ride the rotor with me. Well, they slow the ride down.
We all start to slip,
And the floor comes back up.
and I stagger as you
Trip,
trip,
trip.
trip.
Number 9, ride the rotor with me. Won't you ride the rotor with me? As they turn the motor, the rotor turns round. Ride the rotor with me. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody in between and on beyond, my husband, the one and fortunately only Tommy Amoeba, the lowest form of life.
Self.
Life. Thank you, honey. I'm gonna sing 1 or 2 more songs,
Okay.
and then I'll be done, and we can let the Mysticverse get back to its regularly scheduled programming. Thank you all so much for tuning in to my little entertainment this evening, my little songs and stories of Burning Man's past. And thank you so much to my incredible guests, to Tony, Coyote, Perez-Banuet, and for Lesley Freeman, who is, Tony helps build the city and take it away IRL, and Lesley is helping to build the city in VR. And I just think it's kind of really awesome that I was able to get them both on the show, and we were able to do this together here in the Mysticverse. So I wanted to sing just a bit of 2 more songs for you. And this one is one I wrote for my friend Dan Mann. It's not finished, it's really short. I hope you like it. He built several things at the burn, but I remember his 3 faces. Dan Mann has 3 faces. Dan Mann has 3 faces. Dan Mann has 3 faces. At the bottom of the line, you'll see them coming nightly. Who knows just what we'll find? The three faces of Das Man at the bottom of the line. His trees they burn with fire, sometimes they bring rain. The oil derrick was beauty born from oh so much pain. But Dan Das Man has three faces. Dan Das Man has three faces. Dan Das Man has three faces at the bottom of the line. That was Dan Das Man has three faces. One of these days I'll finish that and maybe I'll even record it. Who knows? I haven't talked to him in a couple minutes. I hope he's doing all right. And so for my last song, I'm going to sing, this one's called Why Wait to Say I Love You, and it's not technically about Burning Man, but the last verse for me was inspired by Burning Man, and you'll hear it when we get there. Yeah, Reggie. That's my friend Reggie Watkins on trombone right there. Played with the Temptations. You name it. Maynard Ferguson. Why wait to say I love you when it's too late to say goodbye? What's wrong with celebrating loved ones before it's time to cry? I want to have a funeral weeks before I'm dead. I want to say hello, I love you, for I can't get out of bed. I want you to know what you mean to me, who we are and what can be. Then I'll tell you face to face I love you eternally. I lost too many loved ones, I've lost too many friends. Want to tell each other how much I care, for it has to end. So why wait to say I love you when it's too late to say goodbye? I want to celebrate our loved ones before it's time to cry. Want to have a funeral, invite the world to come, but not to mourn my passing, but celebrate who we've become. I'm gonna stand by a coffin filled with pictures of you and me, and then we'll make some new ones for all the world to see. How beautiful, how lovely, and sometimes downright strange. But that's the life I've led so far. I see no need to change, so I won't wait to say I love you. Won't wait to say goodbye. I want to celebrate our loved ones before it's time to cry. Friends, Romans, Yinzers, Burners, IRL, and in the Mysticverse. Thank you for tuning in. Please, love you so much. We're one big global community of freaks and weirdos. And I don't know what Burning Man has meant for you, but for me, it's meant that I could be exactly who I wanted to be at any given period of time. And I appreciate the freedom that has allowed me to become an artist that I could have never become if it weren't for Burning Man. And I'm so grateful to all the incredible people who have built art for the event over the years, and all the beautiful people who put it together, who built the city for the art to come, and then took it away and walked in zombie lines across the playa looking for poop. Bless you all. Welcome to my funeral, welcome to my pyre. We're gonna dance around in moonlight to drums that will inspire. booked an entire circus dancers to celebrate the day. We're gonna get a second line to blow and join in raucous fray for all of our friends and our family when before gonna be on this earth. So let us make some mayhem more. So I won't wait to say I love you. Won't wait to say goodbye. I'm gonna celebrate our loved ones before it's time to die. Bora, 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 bora. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody in between, this is my little dog, Punky Seed. And he wants to let you know that he's never been to Burning Man, and I don't think he'd enjoy it at all. But he's so happy to say hello to you this evening. Friends, Romans, Yinzers, Burners, thank you so much for tuning in. And, hopefully I'll see you somewhere out on the digital playa in the Mysticverse. You stay beautiful, you take care of yourselves, and just stay wonderful, stay weird, stay wild. Night, night. Oh, did you want to come on and say night, night, Lesley? Should I bring you on? I'm bringing you on. Yay!
Hey! Good night, everyone.
Thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Love you.
Mwah, mwah.